Hey guys, it's Hannah Hart's Book 6, and today I'm going to be doing my booktubeathon wrap-up. This is just going to be part of my August wrap-up, so just letting you know. But, I just wanted to let you know that these are the books that I read during the booktubeathon the first week of August, and I'm going to get started. The first one I don't have with me currently, and it is Lumberjanes Volume 5, Band Together, and I overall really liked this volume. It was 4 stars. One thing I didn't like, and it was the only thing I didn't like, and it was the fact that the art style changed between issue 17 and issue 18, and the first issue has Noelle Stevenson attached to it, and the rest of the issues don't, so I'm guessing that's around the time she left the Lumberjanes project, but the art style just seemed, I don't know. I didn't like how it changed in the middle of a volume. Obviously, they come out as issues, so if I was reading them issue by issue, it wouldn't have been as different, but because it was all bound together, it was just seemed like a really awkward transition, and yeah, I don't know, it just seemed like too young and too cutesy, whereas, I don't know, I liked the more rigid lines of the first 4 volumes. But anyway, I loved the introduction of the Mer people. April was too funny in this, and I really loved that the beginning was kind of like a prequel story because it allowed us to get to know the Lumberjanes and how they got to know each other, and I think that was really fun. I loved the addition of Molly finding her raccoon hat because, you know, that's like a little bit of a goof later, or an Easter egg to the earlier volumes, and I just really loved that addition, so I thought that was super cute. And now I'm going to talk about the next book that I read. The next book I read was The Archives by Victoria Schwab, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. And I was going to give it 5, but there was just that oomph that I was hoping for at the end. You know how sometimes you really hate that you get left on a cliffhanger? I was a little annoyed that I didn't get left on any kind of, like, cliff. I don't know. I wanted, when I finished this, to be so motivated to read the second book, and while I am going to continue to the Unbound, it just, like, it lacked that punch that I was wanting at the end of it, because during one of the end scenes where Mackenzie is battling and doing the things that are spoilery that I can't talk about, I was like, my heart was pumping during that scene, and I was so excited, and then it just, like, it got solved, and then it just, like, I don't know, I was waiting for, like, a punch and something to happen again to warrant another story, you know what I mean? I just felt like it missed that little bit that was going to give it 5 stars. Overall, loved this. 4.5 is not a bad rating. It's an amazing rating. Not every book's going to be 5 stars, and that's fine. But I just thought that this concept was so cool. I loved the idea of the outer and the archive and the narrow, because this world, the outer is our world. The narrows is kind of like the limbo kind of place where people kind of get lost, and there are a bunch of doors. And one of the doors leads to the returns, and one of them leads to the archived. And the archived is basically where bodies lay on shelves like books, and that's kind of how it's explained in the synopsis. And basically our main character, Mackenzie, is a keeper, and she is tasked with putting away histories and putting them in returns so they can be returned to the archive. And basically these histories, which are the remnants or like the memories of the people who have died, it's basically like a record of every memory that you've ever had. That's what your history is. And basically Mackenzie was handed this down from her grandfather, and she is a pretty young keeper. She's about 16, and just the way you get into the narrows is she has a key that her grandfather has passed down to her. She turns it in a ripple in the wall or wherever a door may have been in the past, and that's how she gets through the narrows. And it's just like the concept of doors is so Victoria Schwab, because if you've ever watched any interviews with her, She loves the metaphor of doors and, like, doors between different worlds, or like in the Shades of Magic trilogy, I haven't read it, but doors to other parallel Londons, and just that metaphor of doors was so weaved throughout here, and I loved it so much, and I just thought our main character Mackenzie was great, and the overall storyline was great. I was not expecting a, like, murder mystery type plot, and that's what I got, and I loved every second of it. If you are remotely interested in any of the jumble that I just said, please go read this book. It is a duology. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy, but her publisher canceled that third book, so there won't be a conclusion to it, but who cares? Read this book. It's great, and it wrapped up pretty nicely, so I'm thinking that the Unbound will probably wrap up that same way. If it leaves me on a cliffhanger, I might be mad. But I really kind of wanted it in this list, so please go read this. The next book I read was Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Paterson. This book won the Newbery Medal in 1978, and I am challenging myself to read all the books that have won the Newbery Medal, and this is the 9th one that I've read out of 97. It seems a little bit daunting, but they're actually pretty good books so far, and I think I would rate this one about 3.5 stars. I think on Goodreads I have it as a 4, but I think I'm going to change it to a 3.5 because this book, I liked it. Oh, I liked it. I loved the friendship between Jess and Leslie the most, and I didn't love how his parents treated him. I thought they were generally terrible people, and they just kind of gave him the brunt of the work because he lives on a farm and he has to milk the cows, and he has 4 sisters, and so he kind of gets the, I don't know, his sisters kind of get a pass, and they're really, really bratty too, and he's just a generally good kid. He loves to draw, and he just wants to, you know, be a kid and have fun, but I just didn't love how his parents treated him. And basically, Leslie moves next door to him, and Jess and Leslie form this friendship, and they create this world through the woods called Terabithia. And it's basically just this world where Leslie uses her imagination, and I think Jess is a little reluctant to it at first, but he just is so enthralled with Leslie and her ability to be imaginative, and I think he's a bit jealous of her love with her relationship with her parents because he doesn't have that kind of love, but her family, like, adopts him into their family basically, and I just loved this book, and I loved their friendship, and I teared up at the end, but I didn't cry like I thought I was going to. And then I watched the movie, and I really cried. So I honestly think that the movie did it better. Because there was a lot of fat shaming in this book as well, which I did not like, and I talked about in my booktubeathon blog. And I just think that the movie changed all the things that I didn't like. They made his parents better. They modernized it because it was in 2007 and not 1978. They took out the fat shaming parts, and honestly, they just did it so much better, and that's why I think I'm only going to give this 3.5 stars, because if this had been like the movie, I think I would have given it 4 stars, because that movie just gave it that oomph that made me love the story even more. And the great thing about the movie is that they just changed all the parts I didn't like, so it amplified all the parts that I did like from the book, if that makes sense. So I know that they're separate entities and separate forms of media, but I really did like this book, and because they changed the things in the movie, it just amped up that core story of the friendship in my mind. And they made it a lot more fantastical, which I really loved as well. So yes, Bridge to Terabithia, 4 stars. Liked it, or 3.5 stars. Yeah. But this book was good, and I'm so excited that I finished another Newbery Medal winning book. The next book I read is Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This is the first book in the Little House series, based on Laura Ingalls Wilder's life. This is Laura. That's her Pa Charles, her sister Mary, her mom Caroline, and her baby sister Carrie. So basically this follows Laura in her little house in the big woods, and basically farm life and how things are done on a farm. And this book I would have to give 2.5 stars, which I know my mom will be so sad about, but this book had a lot of parts where they went in painstaking detail of how her dad cleans his gun, how the mom hoed the corn, and various other mundane activities that I did not care to read about for 3 to 4 pages at a time. And it really took me out of the story because there was a lot of technical language that I didn't love and I didn't understand, and I had to read over parts. And this 238-page book took me a lot longer than it should have. I mean, the font is huge, as I've stated before, but I don't know, this was not my kind of book. I'm going to try to continue on to book 2, but if I'm not liking it, I'm not going to continue because it's not worth it. And I mean, there were parts that I liked. I liked the part about the dance and Christmas time and the stories that Charles or Pa told the girls at night. But there was just some things that I don't know. I was overall very bored throughout the reading of this, and for that reason I would have to give it a 2.5. It's smack dab in the middle. I didn't enjoy it enough to give it a 3, and I just think 2.5 is just going to be a perfect rating for this book, which kind of stinks because I wanted to love it a lot more, but overall I was just kind of disappointed, which stinks. The last book that I read for booktubeathon, or that I completed, is Goldie, Vance Volume 2 by Hope Larson, Brittany Williams, and Sarah Stern. And I really liked this volume. I only gave it 3 stars. It wasn't as good, I thought, as the first volume, and I don't love it as much as I loved Lumberjanes, so I didn't feel good enough giving it a 4-star because they are graphic novels, so they kind of, you can compare them a little bit more. And I feel a lot more connected to the characters in Lumberjanes than I ever do to the Goldie Vance characters. I want to be more connected to them. I just feel like we don't get a deep enough story, I guess, or their personalities don't shine through as much in these. But I do love it. 3 stars. Basically, the caption for this is, if you want to get hooked on this, it's Nancy Drew and Veronica Mars better make some room because there's a new detective in the house. And it's so true. I thought the mystery in this was a little lackluster, which is also a reason I gave it 3 stars. I wasn't as invested in it, and I didn't really understand why they were doing it. It ended up kind of being a cult plotline, which I wasn't expecting, so I guess that was a weird surprise. But yeah, 3 stars. Wasn't as into it as I wanted to be. The last book that I read but did not finish during the booktubeathon is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. I got 236 pages into this on Sunday, and I didn't finish it. I finished it yesterday, so I'll go ahead and talk about it. But it was a reread for me, and the Lara Jean trilogy is about Lara Jean Song Covey, and basically whenever she's over a boy that she's loved, she writes them a letter, addresses it in mail, and puts a stamp on it, and puts it in her hat box that her mother gave her. And basically that's the way that she copes with ending her love for somebody. And then by some fluke, these letters get sent out, and she has to deal with the repercussions of that. And this trilogy is just so cute. I was not planning on rereading the whole trilogy. I was genuinely only going to reread this one, but I'm totally going to reread the rest of them because they're so cute. They're so quick and fast-paced. This is about 355 pages, and I almost read the whole thing on the 7th day of booktubeathon, but I just overall didn't want to finish, and I wanted to savor it a little bit more. At first, I didn't love it as much as I did before, and then the last 119 or 125 pages or something just really sealed it for me, because it's like a fake relationship trope, and I love that, and I'm here for it all the time, and I just love it. I gave this book 5 stars. Yep. So, woohoo! It was a reread, but I loved it. So that is my wrap up. I will put how many pages I read during the booktubeathon. I think I read about 1,200 pages, which is really good for me. I read some short books, and I completed 5 challenges. So that's it for me. Bye!